Because he's the acceptable monster.
Jaguar Wright warned us. Way before folks began giving Beyoncé and Jay-Z the side-eye, Jaguar had already broken her silence. She said their names out loud. She spoke about secret rituals, how people were being controlled, and the truths artists were told to keep quiet about.
He lined up D-Haven, stole his life and identity, his love.
Most people ignored her, called her bitter, and laughed at what she said. But now a lot of her claims are starting to seem real. And she wasn't the only one speaking out. Even Beyoncé's own drummer, Kimberly Thompson, got a restraining order and said she was being spiritually attacked.
Changing into animals and jumping into other bodies and all kinds of really crazy stuff.
Then there's Solange, Beyoncé's own sister. She never said anything out loud, and she didn't have to, because she swung in that elevator and disappeared after. And when you start putting together Jaguar's words, Kimberly's experience, and all the dark stories coming out about that tight circle, Solange's quietness doesn't seem like distance anymore. It feels like she was scared. And the more you replay that elevator moment in your mind, the more it seems like the last time anyone dared to fight back. The video was blurry, but the message was crystal clear. It was May 2014, and the Standard Hotel in New York had just wrapped a Met Gala afterparty. Beyoncé, Jay-Z, and Solange got into an elevator. And what happened next left the whole music world in shock. TMZ got a copy of the footage, and in it, Solange exploded. She shouted at Jay-Z, then started hitting him. She punched, kicked, and smacked him with her purse so hard that everything inside it spilled on the floor. A bodyguard tried to stop her, but she kept going. Jay-Z didn't hit her back, not once. And Beyoncé stood quietly to the side, not saying a word, just watching it all happen. Even the bodyguard seemed to realize that what was happening needed to be kept under wraps. He pressed the emergency stop button in the middle of the fight. Allegedly, it was to stop the footage from getting out, but it was already too late. When the video hit the internet, it went viral fast. Back then, people believed Solange was furious because Jay-Z had cheated on Beyoncé. Most assumed it had to do with Becky with the good hair. A phrase Beyoncé later made iconic in her Lemonade album. But now, that simple explanation doesn't really make sense anymore. Think about it. If Solange was that angry for Beyoncé's sake, if she was ready to attack Jay-Z to protect her sister, then why has she disappeared from the picture? Where's the bond between them now? Solange and Beyoncé aren't seen together anymore. She wasn't on the Renaissance tour. She's missing from family photos. She hasn't even been seen with Blue Ivy, Rumi, or Sir. Not even once in years. And when Beyoncé won her Grammy for Renaissance and thanked her uncle, her husband, and her kids, she didn't say a word about Solange. Which brings up some serious questions. What really happened in that elevator? What did Solange find out? And why has she stayed quiet for almost 10 years? Because when you look deeper into all of this, the silence, the body language, the way they've grown apart in public, it starts to feel like that elevator fight was a cry for help. Maybe even a warning that no one paid attention to. And if Solange stood up back then but got shut out by the powerful forces around her, it makes sense why she hasn't said anything since. She's not standing up for Beyoncé anymore. She's keeping her distance. And that silence might be speaking louder than any interview ever could. That elevator scene didn't just make people question Jay-Z. It changed how the world saw the entire Knowles Carter image. Solange wasn't just lashing out at her brother-in-law. She was sending a message the public still hasn't fully understood. Because if that explosion was only about infidelity, like most people thought back then, why would she cut herself off completely afterward? Why stay silent? Why avoid her sister's children, concerts, award shows, and album launches. That kind of distance usually means one thing. Someone saw something they weren't supposed to see, and they wanted no part of it anymore. Now, nearly 10 years later, the silence surrounding that moment feels like a pattern, because today, Beyoncé is facing her own moment of truth. And just like Solange did, she's choosing to stay silent. While Diddy's entire empire crumbles under a federal investigation, filled with lawsuits, survivor stories, and court documents piling up, Beyoncé has said absolutely nothing. Not a statement, not a post, not even a hint that she's aware of what's happening. And people are starting to take notice. If Beyoncé really supports women's rights, why hasn't she spoken up for any of the women who say Diddy hurt them? It just doesn't add up. And that question isn't coming from haters. It's coming from her loyal fans, the Bayhive. These aren't random people trolling online. These are long-time supporters asking why their so-called queen of feminism is quiet when it actually matters. Beyoncé built her whole brand on empowering women. Remember the 2014 VMAs? She stood in front of a huge glowing sign that said feminist. She's used speeches from women's rights leaders in her songs. She's led campaigns that uplift black girls, working mums, and female artists. But now, her voice is missing. Because right now, black women, Cassie, Jane Doe 1, and others are naming someone very close to Beyoncé as their abuser. And to be clear, Beyoncé and Diddy aren't strangers. They've worked together for years, shared stages, performed at the same shows, attended private events. Their business paths even crossed. Rock Nation, Revolt, Bad Boy Records, Live Nation, they've all been tied together. Beyoncé has been a VIP guest at Diddy's parties. Jay-Z helped build the business world Diddy thrived in. They're not distant, they're deeply connected. So Beyoncé staying quiet isn't just sad, it feels calculated. It protects the image, the legacy, the billion-dollar brand. Jay-Z hasn't said anything either. No public comment, no interviews, nothing. And yet, he played a major role in the industry that let Diddy rise to power and avoid consequences for years. Jay and Diddy moved as a team. They shaped the idea of black success in hip-hop. Designer suits, boardroom deals, luxury champagne, and Super Bowl seats. But behind all that, a culture of silence protected Diddy. And now it's doing the same for Beyoncé. And this brings us back to Solange. Maybe she realized the truth earlier than anyone. Maybe she saw how power really works and decided she didn't want to be part of it. Her stepping away wasn't just about family drama. It was about surviving. She didn't want to get trapped in the silence. Because when you're inside that powerful circle, the rules are clear. You don't speak out. You don't call people out. You don't ruin the image. And if you break that rule, like Solange did for a moment in that elevator, they shut you out. So she walked away. Not because she didn't love her sister, but because she couldn't stand what her sister was standing next to. If Solange saw something behind the scenes that made her leave, then Kimberly Thompson might have been the first to say it out loud. Kimberly wasn't just a former employee. She was Beyoncé's drummer. For 7 years, she toured with her, rehearsed with her, worked under her watch. She was part of Beyoncé's all-female band, the same group that helped create her girl power image across the world. But in 2018, Kimberly came forward with shocking claims that tore that image apart. She didn't just leave quietly, she filed a restraining order. In court papers obtained by The Blast, Kimberly accused Beyoncé of using extreme witchcraft, black magic, and sexual manipulation to control her. She even said Beyoncé tapped her phone, killed her kitten, and messed with her money. It ruined everything I tried to build, Kimberly said. I always told myself I never wanted to regret anything, but now... Her voice shook with emotion. Most people laughed it off at the time. The media treated it like tabloid gossip. The court denied her request for a restraining order, saying there wasn't enough proof. But Kimberly wasn't just anyone. She was the first person that close to Beyoncé to say something so dark and specific. And it wasn't random. In a 2016 interview, Kimberly said she couldn't even change her hairstyle without Beyoncé's permission. She described how Beyoncé controlled every single detail, not just her image, but the people around her. And that kind of control, it usually doesn't stop at hair and outfits. Not in an industry where secrets are sold, careers are made in private meetings, and loyalty is expected on a deep, almost spiritual level. Then came Jaguar Wright. Jaguar had already shocked the public by exposing the dark side of the music world. But when she started talking about Beyoncé, people began to listen again to what Kimberly had said. Jaguar claimed Beyoncé used witchcraft and ruined people's lives. She was hypnotized, Jaguar said. Beyoncé was eating on her while she slept, snacking on her. Yes, those were her actual words. No maybe, no allegedly. She said it like it was fact. People dismissed Jaguar as unstable. But here's the thing, a lot of what she said before actually came true. She's one of the first to call out Diddy before the lawsuits dropped. She warned about Clive Davis, the Smith family, and what went on behind closed doors at private parties. And now that those things are being exposed, people are watching her old interviews and realizing maybe she wasn't lying. Suddenly, Kimberly's story doesn't sound so wild, especially when Jaguar is saying the same things. And Solange walking away? That wasn't just leaving a job or ending a relationship, it was spiritual. Maybe she couldn't speak. Maybe she wasn't allowed. But Solange is Beyoncé's sister. And if someone that close is keeping that much distance, it's not a feud, it's fear. This isn't just one person talking anymore. It's a pattern. Solange stepped back. Kimberly filed legal papers. Jaguar kept naming names. And then came Uncle Ron, Beyoncé and Jay-Z's former bodyguard. He wasn't some random guy on the internet. He worked for them, protected them. He was there, in their homes, rehearsals, and those private parties the public never hears about. So when he spoke, people listened. And he didn't talk in circles. He came right out and said it. Aaliyah's death wasn't an accident. He said Jay-Z had a romantic relationship with her before Beyoncé, and that Aaliyah was removed when she didn't play by the same rules Beyoncé agreed to. That rumor's been around for years. People have always questioned the timing of Aaliyah's death in 2001, a last-minute flight on an overloaded plane just days after filming a music video. It never felt right, especially with how quickly the industry moved on. The plane crashed just after takeoff, in perfect weather. Investigators said an engine failed. 8 passengers died. Aaliyah, a young artist from Brooklyn with huge talent, was gone. And now, Uncle Ron's claim fits what fans have whispered for decades. Aaliyah was in Jay-Z's circle, and when she didn't follow the plan, she was pushed out. This isn't just wild guessing anymore. It's becoming part of a bigger story about people who got too close to Beyoncé and Jay-Z and either vanished, lost their careers, or ended up in mysterious situations. Look at Keri Hilson. She was seen as a real threat to Beyoncé. Super talented, beautiful, and on her way up. Then she released Turning Me On, a song fans believe dissed Beyoncé. Soon after, her career crashed. She was blackballed, attacked by fans, and humiliated in public. Another talented black woman silenced before reaching her full potential. Keri never named Beyoncé, but she didn't have to. The message was clear. She crossed the line. Jaguar Wright connected the dots. The private parties, the favors, the shocking moments. The careers that disappeared, the people who died, it stops sounding like a theory and starts sounding like proof. Even Aaliyah's death feels different now. The idea that Jay-Z was with her before Beyoncé isn't new. But when people tie it to his name showing up on Jeffrey Epstein's flight logs, a man known for exploiting young women, the questions get even darker. And Beyoncé? Still no words. No interview, no denial. Just silence. But the people who are speaking, Jaguar, Kimberly, Uncle Ron, aren't fading away. In fact, as more legal documents come out, people are finally starting to take them seriously. Solange never confirmed any of this out loud, but her absence says everything. If she saw what Kimberly saw, or what Uncle Ron protected, or what Jaguar exposed, then maybe she didn't walk away for peace. Maybe she walked away to stay safe. Because in this industry, silence is power. And telling the truth, that can get you erased. Solange never gave an interview, never posted a cryptic tweet, never spoke out. But she didn't need to. Her silence was her message. No joint photos, no birthday shoutouts, no red carpet events with Beyoncé or Jay-Z. She didn't go to the Renaissance tour. She didn't hang out with Blue Ivy. She stayed out of the spotlight because she saw what was really going on behind the scenes. She saw what happened to people who got too close, to Beyoncé, to Jay-Z, to Diddy. She saw careers fall apart, musicians dragged into court, songwriters cut off, insiders gone without a trace. She wasn't going to be next. So while the world was busy praising Beyoncé and Jay-Z as a perfect power couple, Solange made a different choice: distance. And now we finally understand why. Anyway, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching. Bye!